It's time for Recipe of the Day. St. Patrick's Day is tomorrow, and if you want to do a corned beef brisket, I've got you covered. I am still in Ecuador, so I am not going to be making a St. Patrick's Day brisket tomorrow, but I know that I was already seeing them in the grocery stores before I left. So if you've been seeing them and you've been wondering how to cook them up, I am telling you how today, and I'm telling you how to do it in the Instant Pot. I really think we perfected this one. It is so great. Like a lot of the recipes that I was seeing online for Instant Pot corned beef briskets have them cooking like 90 minutes, 2 hours in there, which is how long I cook a corned beef brisket on the stove. So I knew that couldn't be right. So we actually tested to get sort of the minimum length of time needed to pressure cook a corned beef brisket to make it tender and delicious without having to spend too much time. So I think you're really, really going to love this recipe. So before I tell you how to make this Instant Pot corned beef dinner, I'm going to let you know a little bit about what the corned beef is. So we're talking about this brisket of corned beef that's in a sealed packet at the grocery store, and it's got like this like squidgy liquid all around it, and that is a brining solution. So it has a high salt content, and its purpose is to really tenderize that meat. And actually, the reason that corned beef is called corned beef is because when it was originally preserved with salt, probably in a slightly different way, the salt crystals that were used were the size of corn kernels, and so that's how it got to be called corned beef. Now, inside of that packet with the corned beef brisket with the liquid, there's also often a seasoning packet. It's about the size of a business card. We are going to make use of that in this recipe, but if yours doesn't have one, that's totally fine too. It's not necessary. Okay, so how do you make this mouth-wateringly tender Instant Pot corned beef? You're going to start by measuring some chicken stock into the liner of your Instant Pot, the big metal pot that you cook things in the Instant Pot, and then you're going to add some whole spices to that. And that's just because the little spice packet that comes with the corned beef isn't really enough to flavor the liquid and the corned beef sufficiently. So I'm adding the extra spices in there. And what you're going to do is a tablespoon of peppercorns, a tablespoon of allspice, and a tablespoon of caraway seeds, 4 bay leaves, and 3/4 teaspoon salt, and 1 1/4 cup of chicken stock. So that is in your Instant Pot. And then you're going to put the trivet or rack that came with your Instant Pot in there. You're going to be cooking the corned beef brisket on top of that, so it's not sitting in that liquid. And I'm just going to say we are only calling for 1 1/4 cup of chicken stock. A lot of people think that you need 2 cups of liquid in the Instant Pot, and that has to do with some early recommendations that the Instant Pot company was making, but they have revised that, and I have found in my own Instant Pot that 1 1/4 cups is plenty of liquid for almost anything that I cook. If you've had other experiences, if you put less than 2 cups and things go badly, by all means put 2 cups. Not all Instant Pots are created equally, different multi-cookers, different situations. So if you have that experience, go for it. But in my experience with my Instant Pot, which I will link to in the show notes so you know which one I have, it's one of the Instant Pot duos, 1 1/4 cups is plenty. Okay, now you're going to get that corned beef brisket out of its packaging. You're going to get it out. I do it in my sink. Take that spice packet out, move it over to the side. We don't need that right now, but you don't want to throw it out. And then you're going to rinse that brisket because you don't want all that briny liquid on it. It's very salty. But this is an issue. Whenever people rinse meats in their sinks, it can actually cause a bit of a health hazard where they're actually spraying bacteria around their kitchen, and that is not a good idea. So what you want to do is just have your faucet running very, very slowly so you're not having a lot of spattering, and then hold the corned beef really low in your sink and rinse it a little bit. The alternative is to fill a large bowl with water and dip the corned beef in there. That'll work too. Then you're going to pat it dry with some paper towels. Then you put that patted dry corned beef onto the rack or trivet that you put in your Instant Pot. Put it fat side up. And then we're doing something really great with that spice packet. We really want it to actually be flavoring the corned beef. We don't want the pressure and liquid to send those spices all over the inside of the Instant Pot. We really want them down there. So what you're going to do is you're going to get some grainy mustard, just 2 tablespoons, and spread it over that top side of your corned beef brisket, and then sprinkle the contents of the spice packet on top of the mustard. And then it's going to stick there. Those little spices are going to soften in the pressure cooking as the meat softens, and they're going to be delicious. Okay, then you put the lid on the Instant Pot, lock it in place, set the valve to sealing, set that pressure button to 1 hour, 60 minutes, none of this 90-minute business. And then as you know, what's going to happen is the Instant Pot is going to come up to pressure and heat, and then it's going to pressure cook for the hour. Then you're going to do a natural release, which just means that you do nothing for 10 minutes. I like to turn off the Instant Pot first. It has that keep warm function where it's staying like warm and still warming things up inside. Turn that off and then let the whole thing stand for 10 minutes. And as you've heard me say so many times, that natural release time is really important when you're cooking meat in the Instant Pot. It's because if you flick that valve to venting right away when it's been at high pressure, it's a really drastic change of pressure and of temperature all of a sudden, and that can really toughen up the meat. Instead, you turn the unit off, leave the valve at sealed, and then it's just slowly releasing the pressure and slowly cooling down a bit so that when you do hit that valve to venting, it's not so drastic and the meat doesn't tense up. Okay, so you just let the rest of that pressure come out, and then once the button drops down telling you it's safe to take the lid off, take the lid off, and then carefully lift the rack or trivet with the corned beef out of the Instant Pot and transfer it to a cutting board. It's going to rest while you cook the vegetables in there. Like perfect, right? The corned beef needs to rest anyhow, and you have some vegetables to cook. You wouldn't want to have put the vegetables in for that whole time that the corned beef was cooking because they would be way overcooked. We're going in with 1.5 pounds of small potatoes, a large head of green cabbage cut into wedges, and 9 big carrots peeled and trimmed to fit inside of the Instant Pot. And then you're going to set that for 4 minutes at high pressure. And once that is done, turn the unit off and you can move the valve to venting right away because we're not worried about the vegetables having that tense up situation. That only happens with meat. Once the pressure is released, you can take off that lid and then you'll slice the corned beef against the grain and transfer it to a platter with the vegetables. You could ladle some of that cooking liquid over the corned beef and vegetables for extra flavor and serve. I will put the link to this recipe in the show notes for this podcast episode, or you can head to cookthestory.com/ROTD and get it there. Everything there is arranged by date, so it's helpful to know that today is March 16th of 2025. And if you make this recipe and love it, or if you have made any of the recipes from either of my websites and loved them, I would appreciate it if you would go back and leave a 5-star rating and a comment. Let me know what you liked. Let me know how you changed it. And that just makes my day. I love seeing that. And then the 5-star rating, that helps other people find my recipes and find my business. If they're searching for recipes on Google and they see all those 5 stars, they're more likely to click and come over and find me. I really appreciate it. I know a lot of you do this already, and I'm really grateful. But if you haven't before, now is the time. What are you waiting for? Go to cookthestory.com or thecookful.com and leave those ratings and reviews. I'm Christine Pittman from cookthestory.com, thecookful.com, the all-new chicken cookbook, and from this podcast recipe of the day. I hope you have a great day. Let's get cooking.